Into the Backrooms. Chapter 7. Hotel Time Loop. I regained consciousness slowly, my thoughts slowly entering first as my body slowly returned itself back to reality. I closed and opened my eyes, closing them slowly as I struggled to muster up enough energy to open my eyes properly. My head pounded, a headache quickly coming forwards as the first thing I felt upon waking. I opened my eyes again and squinted at my surroundings. All I could see was a blurry white and black patterned carpet. I lifted my arms and rubbed my eyes, slowly removing the bacteria that had built up while I was unconscious from my view. I blinked a couple of times in an exaggerated manner before looking around. "A hotel?" I said groggily as I slowly got to my feet. My knees were sore and the bloody gash from earlier had dried and scabbed over. I looked down at my hands to see they were stained with dry blood, the dark red liquid settling deep into the cracks of my palms before drying. I returned my gaze to the new hallway in front of me, the long corridor stretching on for a couple of 100 feet before coming to an end with an old wooden door. Why the hell are there no other doors? I asked myself as I began to slowly make my way to the door at the end of the hallway. My head throbbed, a migraine slowly beating away at my mind within my skull. As the wooden door at the end of the hallway grew closer, so did the feeling that something was wrong. I glanced around nervously as I reached for the handle. Locked. I took my hand away from the doorknob and looked behind me. "I need a key," I said softly, the pain in my head causing my words and sentences to be quiet and short. I began making my way back to where I started and began admiring the room. Old-style Victorian paintings of people posing similar to the Mona Lisa hung on the walls. Some normal, others distorted and nightmarishly terrifying. The 6 tall, 2 wide windows were covered in an undulating white fog, blocking almost all light going in or out of them. Rickety wooden tables and chairs lay strewn amongst the room, mostly leaning against walls. The wallpaper had a hotel-style red pattern on it, and it was peeling in multiple places. The stench of mildew and rotting wood slowly began reaching my senses as the pain in my head slowly diminished. I looked over at one of the polished wooden tables lined up against the wall and walked over to it. "It's so clean," I said as I slid my finger over the slick, polished surface. "How is it so clean? With everything I've been through, none of the levels were this pristine," I said as I looked through the fogged-up glass window. The grassy hills far off in the distance were distorted and blurry through the window frame, as if there wasn't meant to be anything else here. "Key. Key, I need a key," I said as I looked around, slapping my forehead, my eyes darting from table to table as I searched for a ring of keys or maybe even a lockpick. "This level is insanely cool, to be honest," I said as I made my way over to the middle of the hallway. A massive pile of wardrobe cabinets and bookshelves with nothing in them lay stacked against the wall, positioned in a way similar to that in a horror movie, with the victim trying to blockade the door with everything they had. The sounds of distant chattering slowly drifted through the halls, reaching my ears as the sounds brushed past. People! Those are people talking," I said as a glimmer of hope began to rise through the cloud of doubt and fear. "I need a key. If there's people behind that door, I have to get to the people. They can know my way out of here, I cried as I quickly pushed off the black and white tile floor and tugged on the wardrobe door. The door creaked as the handle strained against the aged wood. The wardrobe remained closed. "Shit, I thought that would open," I said as I looked around, the hopes of finally finding people beginning to stay with me for the first time in a while. "Key, I really need that key," I said as I ran down the cluttered hallway to the door. I grabbed the knob and yanked, hoping I could knock it open somehow and get to the people before they left. Hey, I'm stuck in here. Can you hear me?" I cried, frantically pounding my fist against the door. I had instantly abandoned any rational plan to find a key and pounded on the wooden door as hard as I could. My fist grew red as I beat the door as hard and fast as possible. "Hello, can you hear me?" I screamed, slowly growing tired as the door remained intact. "Can you hear—" I was cut off by a loud buzz, the sound instantly filling every inch of the room. I dropped to my knees, holding my hands over my ears as I waited for the loud, deafening buzzing to stop. I clenched my teeth, the force causing my gums to flare with pain. "What the fuck is that?" I growled as I gritted my teeth in agony. The sound grew louder as the walls began to shake. A metallic taste of blood filled my mouth as my jaw cracked under the pressure. "Stop!" I screamed as I closed my eyes, fresh blood seeping through my pursed lips as it dripped on my chin. The sound grew deafeningly loud, and then silence. The lights flickered once, twice, and then became normal again. I opened my eyes and swallowed, slowly taking my hands away from my ears. I want to leave. I just want to leave, I said as tears of pain and loneliness began to roll down my cheeks. I sniffed, making myself choke on my own blood as it went up the nasal pipe from my mouth. With shaky legs, I got to my feet and looked around. Please, man. Just, let me leave. I don't want to be here anymore, I said softly as my eyes stung, tears streaming down my face as blood seeped from my nose, mouth, and ears. I was exhausted already. I took a step forward and listened, trying to hear the people talking again. Nothing. They're gone. They're fucking gone, I said as feelings of anger and sadness rose up. What the fuck is wrong with this place? I cried as I punched the door as hard as I could. My knuckles crunched, blood instantly seeping through my broken skin as my fist made contact with the door. Ow! Fuck! I muttered as I kicked the door in a rage. The door crunched before flying open, the lock flying off into the main hall, landing with a skidding crash before coming to a halt in front of the door. A-E, I read. It didn't really make sense. It was pronounced weird and had weird metallic symbols in it. I stared at the splintered wood as my foot and fist throbbed in extreme pain. Well, it's open, I muttered as I walked through the doorframe and went into what looked like the main hall. Cluttered piles of storage shelving and hotel furniture lay scattered all over the corridor, the smell of dust somehow becoming vacant as I walked down the hallway. A cold current of air rushed past, sending chills through my entire body. I glanced behind me and then turned back to the corridor in front of me. Hello? I said, my voice echoing down the elaborate tunnel-like hallways as it traveled on invisible currents of air. Nothing. Why do I even try? Why do I even try, man? I cried as I shoved one of the large wooden shelves over. It hit the floor with a deafening crunch. Crash. Knocking more things off of shelves as the impact shook the hallway. Dust kicked up, floating into the air as it was knocked away from its last location. I quickly walked over to one of the dresser drawers and opened the top compartment. Water? I muttered as I cautiously grabbed the small white canister. The liquid inside sloshed as I turned it over in my hand. A faded label on the front read the words almond water in extremely faded and messy black text. Almond water? I read. There is food here, I said as I twisted the cap off of the bottle. The white liquid moved inside as I brought the bottle to my lips. The dry dust that covered the lip of the bottle made me take the water away from my lips instantly. Fuck, you know what, just drink it. I brought the bottle back to my lips and took a swig. The cool liquid slid down my throat, seeming to instantly make me feel more at peace. I pointed the bottle in the air and chugged the rest of the contents in a single gulp. Wow, I said as I placed the now empty bottle on top of the dresser. I looked around to make sure I wasn't being watched before returning my focus to the drawers. I opened the second drawer to reveal a clump of cloth and a flashlight battery. Wait, light. Yeah, light. Wait, there is light. This is a flashlight battery, I said. Wait. Fuck. Where's the camera? I said as I glanced around, searching for the camera in my current surroundings. When did I lose it? I muttered as I grabbed the flashlight batteries and put them in my pocket. I instantly forgot about the camera as I opened the third drawer, revealing an entire flashlight and a canister of bug spray. What the? Bug spray? I cried as I grabbed the can of bug spray and turned it over. Do not spray when not needed. Do not let spray come in contact with skin or eyes. Only use in emergencies. Single use only. I blinked, letting the label sink in before putting the spray can back in my pocket. I might need that, but what? The image of a death moth came into my mind, reminding me of what lurks in the darkest corners of the ceilings. Oh yeah. Shit, I muttered as I grabbed the flashlight. I popped the latch and popped the battery inside. Please work, I mumbled as I closed the battery cover. The lights clicked as I turned it on. A dim beam of white light shot across the room and cast a warm glow on the nearest wall. Yes! Yes! I cried as I slammed the dresser door shut. Turned around and screamed as the sight of a giant insect lay directly in front of me. The death moth had lunged at my face before I could react. getting spooked by my scream of terror as it fluttered frantically through the air. I ducked, stumbling back before hitting my head on the dresser behind me. The death moth buzzed loudly before swooping upwards, getting ready to go in for an attack again. I crawled backwards on my hands and knees, bumping against corners and walls before rolling to the side. The death moth swooped down, small pinchers cutting the top of my shoulder, tearing the sleeve of my shirt to shreds. Scrambled forwards, almost knocking myself out on a nearby shelf. The death moth screeched as it tore off a tuft of my hair. It winced as I reached for the canister of bug spray in my back pocket. The death moth clicked loudly, preparing to finish me off as it picked up speed and lunged at my neck. I yanked the bug spray from my back pocket and pressed down on the spray lever. The can hissed as the spray shot out in a mist. The death moth screeched loudly, making sounds of pain as it hurtled at me. I ducked, the large insect flying past my head before hitting the wall with a sickening crunch. I turned around, dropping the can as I stared at the giant bug in fear, waiting for it to wake up again. I touched my shoulder gently, fresh blood instantly soaking my fingertips. Shit. I do need the spray, I said as I slowly got to my feet. I glanced at the can, noticing the one-time use label again. Fuck. I muttered as I kicked the can across the room. A cold chill swept past me, chilling me to the core. It's so clean. Get rid of these giant death moth things and you've got a pristine and tidy hotel. Hello? A voice called from a nearby wardrobe. Wait, I mumbled, both excitement and fear rising in my chest. Hello, can you hear me? I cried as I ran over to the wardrobe's closed doors. I grabbed the handle and yanked it open, setting trapped dust and cobwebs all over me. I coughed, opened my eyes again, and screamed. Chapter 8. Into the Backrooms. Hounded. I fell back, stumbling away from the closet doors as a dog-like creature with a human head fell onto me. I kicked out, my foot connecting with his head as I scrambled back to my feet. I kicked off the ground and ran as fast as I could down the hallway. The weird creature howled before starting the chase after me. I darted to a door on my left and rammed into it with brute force. The latch clicked as the wood cracked on impact. I fell sideways before hitting the ground with a crunch. I rolled, kicking frantically as I tried to keep as much distance as I could from the creature. The sound of 2 sets of feet reached my ears as I leapt into the standing position. No! I screamed as I ran to the door, grabbing it with both hands as I slammed it shut. The hound barked as it interfered with the door halfway, shoving me back. I dug my toes into the carpet as I put all my weight against the door. The dog-like creature snarled, its feet scraping the door as it tried to get in. I grabbed my flashlight, struggling to keep the door closed as close as possible. The flashlight hit the human-like face with a sickening crunch, sending the hound back as I howled in pain. I slammed into the door, shutting it instantly as I let the flashlight drop to the floor. My head pounded as I sunk to the ground, the sound of the creature outside the door tearing away at my sanity. What the fuck do I do? What do I fucking do? I said as I grabbed the flashlight and got to my feet. The door shifted as the hound rammed into it, the creature attempting to breach the wooden locked door with brute force. I walked across the hotel room, scanning the surfaces of drawers as I went. The bed creaked as I walked across the moist carpet. I need to get out of here, I said as I pulled open the top drawer of the bedside dresser. A set of flashlight batteries rolled to the other end of the drawer. Behind, pulled along by the momentum of the... A set of flashlight batteries rolled to the other end of the drawer. Behind, pulled along by the momentum of the drawer open. What did I write here? You know, I'll fix that. I'm not fixing it in editing, but, guys, fuck. I grabbed the batteries before pocketing them, opening the next 2 drawers with my other hand. A bottle of almond water sat atop the bedside table, waiting for someone to take it in with them. I grabbed the almond water and walked back to the closet. The door shook as the hound leapt at it furiously. Struggling to crack the door for him to get inside, I exhaled, tossing a stained white towel to the floor as I grabbed another canister of bug spray. My head pounded as I crouched down, scanning the lower shelves of the closet. The doorknob shook, the lock slowly shifting as the hound beat away at the aged wooden door. I grabbed a small box of bandages, the container looking similar to a first aid kit you find in video games, and pocketed it. I quickly walked over to the bed and crouched down, looking everywhere I could. Escape. How do I... A metal vent caught my eye, the shiny steel grate seeming to hide behind a corner wall. I sprinted over and yanked the metal grate off of the wall, sending multiple screws to the floor. The air ducts? I can go through the air ducts, right? I said as I dropped the metal vent cover. I looked behind me to see the door bending under the hound's weight as it rammed against the door repeatedly. I took a deep breath in and crawled into the air duct, slowly inching my way down. The tight and closed space as the door to the hotel room burst open. The hound screamed in a rage as it realized the prey was now gone. Fuck. I mumbled fearfully as I shuffled through the metal ducts. Inching further in the darkness, the spiderwebs brushed against my face and shoulders. I glanced to the right to see another air duct exiting into a new hallway and began to inch my way towards it. Sounds of fast-moving air began to approach behind me as I wiggled my way down the tight space. Hot air nipped my heels as I shoved the vent cover off with 2 hands. The metal grate skidded across the hotel carpet as I crawled out into the hallway. The vent hissed loudly as a stream of burning hot air blasted through the open air duct. I stumbled back as the burning hot steam hit my skin. I lost my footing and fell backwards as the rush of burning steam slowed before coming to a stop. I took a couple of deep breaths and got to my feet. That was way too close, I said as I turned around. Almost instantly, the hound was on top of me, its head jerking left and right as it growled and howled. That does not say as. That should be fixed. Fixed. I cried out and punched the creature's repulsive face, my fist connecting with the side of its head. It yelped in pain as I grabbed my flashlight and whipped it over the creature's eyes. It rolled to the right, yelping in pain as it stopped against the side wall. Get the fuck off of me, I said as I turned the flashlight on and shined it directly on in the hound's corneas. The creature howled in pain as the light appeared to burn its flesh. I inched closer, increasing the flashlight's brightness as the hound backed itself into a corner. I took a step forwards before pushing the light's brightness to max. The hound wailed in pain before bolting down the hallway and into the dark room at the last corridor. I clicked the off button and ran the opposite direction, ramming into the stairwell door before stopping in the corner between the 2 staircases. Light! That's the answer. I need light for these guys, I said to myself as I hurriedly made my way down to the first floor. Sounds of wings reached my ears as I reached the stairwell's exit door, grabbed the can of bug spray from my back pocket and pushed the door open. The room in front of me was pitch black. The possibility of hidden entities began to lurk in the dark corners of my mind. I gripped the can of bug spray tightly as I stepped into the darkness. The second I stepped into the completely black void, everything went bright white as a loud mechanical hum filled my ears. Adrenaline shot through my entire body as the sounds and lights grew more and more intense. What the hell was happening? I cried as I turned around, pointing to go back the way I came. The last thing I saw was the pitch-black void all around me before everything went dark. Editor's note here. I do all of this in one take. If you don't like it, leave. But I'm reading this not only to check it, but to also have fun and enjoy reading it, just to see what I've done and also provide the history of what this story is. Now, if you want to stick around, this is part 8. So if you're enjoying, please consider subscribing. I know this is probably about 2.5 hours into the full novel series because the first part was about 45 minutes and this second collection ends with chapter 9, Pipe Dreams. And I'm really, really happy to show you guys what lies in book 2 because book 2 is where it gets good. Now, I'll see you guys in the future. And I'll continue posting videos until all 93 parts are released. See you in the next one. By the way, you're just going to continue watching these, so I'm not doing an outro. Into the Backrooms. Chapter 9, Pipe Dreams. Whew. The sounds of gears reached my ears as my eyes adjusted to the darkness. I reached for my flashlight and looked around. The dim outlines of metal pipes and drainage lines lined the walls, stretching on into the darkness. I clicked the power switch and flicked my flashlight back and forth. Wow, someone who works on the pipes and drainage lines would call this Pipe Dreams, I muttered to myself, cringing as I slid the bug spray back into my pocket. Shined the flashlight on the wall as I slowly walked forward, scanning the walls and floors for clues or materials like almond water or batteries. Now that I knew they existed, I would always be searching for them. The smell of dust, mold, and sewage water filled my nose as I went further away from my starting point. This place seems really tight. I'm screwed if I run into an entity, aren't I? I said as I walked down the narrow corridor. My flashlight flickered as I shined it into the darkness. It came to a stop as a white rectangle caught my eye. Only one right way, I read as I pulled the paper from the wall. pipe to my left hissed as it shot a dense cloud of steam, hot steam, into the wall opposite the exit valve. I jumped and stumbled away as the burning hot steam dissipated outwards. I looked around nervously before walking forwards again. The sounds of my footsteps echoed down the corridor, mixing with the sounds of bursting exhaust valves and creaking pipelines. I began to walk faster, the sounds of my footfalls growing louder as I began to run. "Why are the lights off? Nothing good ever happens when the lights are off," I muttered as my flashlight flickered more sporadically. I slowed down as I reached a metal box protruding from the corner concrete wall. "A generator! Yes, oh my god, it's a generator!" I cried as I grabbed the handle and opened the electrical box. Sparks flew as the metal hinges groaned loudly. I shined my flashlight on the power switches and scanned the electrical panel for a light switch. Left corridor, right corridor, level exit, main hall, full hall, full hall. That has to be it, I said as I flicked the switch. The lights hummed as the light panels lining the ceiling's hallway powered on one by one. Yes! But what about all these other rooms? I mumbled as I stared at the multitude of other switches. The sound of steam pipes bursting echoed down the hallway, the sounds bouncing down the seemingly infinite corridor until they reached my ears. I reached for the level exit switch, planning to see what it would do, before one of the pipes directly next to me burst, sending a cloud of burning hot steam outwards in my direction. I yelped as the hot steam singed my skin, burning my flesh as it dissipated into nothing. I slammed the generator box shut and sprinted down the hallway where I had originally came. "This is creeping me out. How far do these halls go?" I said as my shoes slapped the concrete floors. The pipes next to me groaned as the lights flickered. "Just go back. Find the exit. There are only two tunnels, I said to myself, the random thoughts bouncing around in my mind, coming out as nervous sentences. I passed the places I started in and continued running until I hit a new section. "This hallway is darker. Why is it getting so cold?" I said nervously as I slowed my speed and cautiously made my way further down the corridor. The sounds of whispering echoed down the hallway, causing me to slow to a stop. "Something's wrong. No, something's wrong," I said as I took one last step forward. I screamed as the nearby steam valve burst, sending hot steam outwards only inches from my face. Sounds of laughter grew louder as I turned around and sprinted as fast as I could away. "I'm not alone anymore? What is that thing? What the fuck is that thing?" I cried as I turned to see a smiling face in the darkness. The white eyes gleamed as the bodiless figure grew closer. "Why is it laughing?" I cried as the lights began to flicker furiously, causing an experience that would force death onto someone with epilepsy. The laughter grew deafeningly loud as the white smiling face grew close enough to spit on. Chills ran through my entire body as the faint glow of rainbow lights in the corner closet-sized room grew closer. A cloud of burning steam brushed the back of my neck as the laughter grew eerily louder. I darted into the rainbow light and jumped onto the ladder, not caring about what lay beyond the hatch I was entering. "Oh my fucking god," I said as my head spun. The rainbow lights faded in and out of view as everything faded away. The sound of laughter grew softer as the smiling entity grew further away from me. I panted, my lungs burning as I took one last breath before everything went white.